Hi guys, so I've been painting a lot of miniature figures recently and well, I'm absolutely loving it. Especially now I'm making some with some bases, so they're almost like sort of mini dioramas, and I actually loved how this shark one came out. But what I really want to do is start doing a few, well, some different things, and that is some vehicles. So I bought a fair few vehicles recently. Here's a few of them. All the things I buy, guys, I get from Chaos Cards. There's a link in the description, and you can use my discount code to get 5% off whenever you spend £30 or more on their miniatures. So yeah, I'm having a go at building this, and this is a Sentinel. This is where my knowledge of 40k is, well, very limited, as I'm not too sure where this vehicle comes from. All I know is I kind of like the look of it because it reminds me of the Star Wars, is it the AT-ST? Yes, that's kind of why I went for this one, just because, well, I think it looks pretty cool. So one thing I don't really ever talk much about, and that's just how much I enjoy, well, the assembly of these miniatures. I mean, obviously I love painting them, but yeah, I also get a lot of enjoyment from actually building them as well, as I always think they go together really well. Obviously it's a bit of a game trying to find the numbered pieces, because, well, anyone familiar with Warhammer and their miniatures and vehicles, the numbers, well, they're all over the shop. Yeah, you'd expect to see sort of number 1, 2, 3, 4. No, you don't see any of that. You see number 1 in between number 101, 72, 4, 68, and all the rest of it. But that kind of makes it half the fun, trying to find the bits we need. So usual sort of thing, cutting bits off the sprue, trying to get as neat or as near to the edge as you can. Sometimes there are a little bit of sprue bits left over, so using a good old scalpel, we just sort of shave them bits off. And sometimes there's the mould lines as well. And again, we try and get rid of all those wherever possible. So obviously it is a better and easier to do it when you sort of first cut the bits off, just because, well, you can get around all the bits. But sometimes we kind of miss a few. So once the thing's fully assembled, we still go around, have a little check, and just shave off any of those, well, those annoying sort of mould lines. So guys, in recent videos, you've kind of mentioned you like my longer videos. So yeah, this is going to be one of those longer videos. So get yourself a cup of tea, get some biscuits, and strap in. Yeah, don't know why I said that, but there you go. So yeah, I don't know if it's because you guys like to hear me waffling on, or maybe it's because you're sitting there doing some painting, doing some assembling, and yeah, you just like to have me on in the background, which is fine by me. Maybe I should just make a 2-hour long video of me just waffling. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing on the screen. I think you guys just like hearing me sort of in the background, really, I guess. I don't know, you strange people. Oh, as this might be a long video, what I'll do, if I remember, is to leave little timestamps. So just in case you are here for obviously the main bits, you can sort of nip to the bits you need to see and know about, rather than just hearing me, well, go on and on and on. So yeah, so hey, this guy's legs, I just love the fact that he does look like the Star Wars vehicle. I had contemplated doing a bit of kit bashing with this, and maybe making like having like a little Ewok or even Chewbacca sitting at the top. But as you probably saw from the thumbnails, yeah, I didn't do that. I just sort of built him as is. This is where obviously you do need to go through the instructions. I have occasionally tried to build something without looking at the instructions, and whilst most of the things are, well, relatively easy and sort of self-explanatory, sometimes there are bits that need to go together before other bits. Otherwise you will have, yeah, you'll have some problems. But following the instructions does make this, well, nice and simple. So this vehicle does have a driver, which is obviously the bit I've just sort of cutting out there. But you also get the options of being able to see him or not see him. And, well, I didn't like the driver that much, and I prefer the idea of not being able to see him, which is why once I get to the end, I do fully enclose it. So I probably could have kept this dude and, well, used him for something else. Maybe a bit of kit bashing along the line. But yeah, I stuck him in there anyway. Put obviously the little fence bit around it. Yeah. But the other thing I love about Warhammer 40k, all their stuff, you do get spare bits. And in this one, obviously you get a variety of weapons to choose from. Again, this is just personal preference, because I won't be playing this sort of vehicle. So I've just gone with what I like. And that is the look of this sort of short, chunky, well, I think it's a rocket or missile launcher, I think. And yeah, I just love the look of it, because it is, well, short and stout and chunky. A bit like me, I guess. Don't forget, guys, if there is anything you want to see me make, build, paint, or any of that kind of jazz, yeah, let me know in the comments. I do love reading the comments. Apologies that I don't always get to reply. Generally for the first sort of few hours after a video, I will reply. But then after that, I'm then working on the next video. So this dude really has gone together really well. I say, I really do enjoy the whole assembly, which is why I'm buying quite a lot of kits now to do some kit bashing with. As obviously I love building the things, but to build it and make it my own is even better. And this to say, all these bits on here are, well, they're leftover bits, which is pretty awesome because, as I just mentioned, kit bashing. So I've now got a whole array of guns and, well, it's kind of arms and heads there that, yeah, I can use in something else. So as this guy is got a little base here, I'm going to keep it nice and simple and just make it like a rocky terrain. And in my head, I'm thinking he's going to be on like the planet Mars or something. So that's why I kind of end up going with like a reddish sort of base to it. And using, yeah, say simple bases I do. And my go-to method normally is this sort of cork, as it looks pretty cool, nice and cheap, and yeah, it works really well. So a good old bit of cork, and then yeah, the little sort of sand and gravel just to give the ground a nice sort of textured base. Now this stuff is easy to use. It is simply a case of gluing it down. So I'm using some good old sort of PVA glue, just because this is a nice cheap glue, and obviously if you're going to use loads of it, you want a cheap glue. It does take a little while to dry, but that's fine. And the other good thing with this is you can just use an old brush sort of to move it around to where it needs to go, and then you can just clean the brush with some nice warm sort of soapy water, and then it's good to go for another use. But again, I wouldn't use a good brush for this, just in case it does sort of ruin it after a while. And yeah, so I never throw brushes away. I always keep all my brushes when they start getting old and manky and crusty, just because they are useful for, well, for doing things where you don't really care what happens to them. So you may have seen in a recent video, I actually used an airbrush gun, and that's something I would have used on this dude, but I kind of painted this guy before using or getting the airbrush. So yes, I will be using the airbrush more for, well, vehicles and sort of terrain pieces. I'm going to have a go at doing some sort of miniatures with them, but as I am very new to the old airbrush, it does need to be a relatively large miniature, yeah, for me to be able to really use it. But definitely something like this would have been nice and easy to have used with the airbrush. But hey ho, maybe next time. And there we go, all assembled and primed in black, as obviously this is my sort of go-to method, priming them in black and then doing some dry brush in grey and white. And yeah, you might have seen recently I've made this textured dry brush palette, as this is a great way of obviously loading the brush up with paint and then rub it on the dry brush palette just to remove any excess. And it also gives you a good indication of just how much is left on the brush. And if you saw the video where I made the textured dry brush palette, you'll also see it's great for testing out any new sort of speed paints, contrast paints that you've got, just so you can see how they look when applied to the good old slapchop painting sort of technique, method, Dubry, what's it. So this miniature does have quite a lot of flat panels, so when doing the dry brushing you are going to cover, well, quite a majority of it. But it will still leave a few little bits here and there that will be black in the good old nooks and crannies. And yeah, so this is definitely my sort of go-to method for whatever I paint, regardless of how it may end up or what my plans for it are. I just really like the idea of doing, say, the priming in black and then a bit of dry brushing. Although I am currently working on something where I run out of black paint and I've actually primed it in a, well, it's kind of like a light brown. So it'll be interesting to see just how the speed paints go over that. But yeah, you'll be able to see that in a video, well, in a few days' time. So as well as doing the dry brushing with the grey and the white you can see now, I'm also going to go over and do some dry brushing with some silver, just to obviously give this a more, well, a metallic look, as this is meant to be a sort of, well, a metal vehicle. Although as much as I can see it when I was painting it, you can't see it that well in the video. Well, mainly because obviously I am sort of going over with silver over a whitish greyish sort of look. But yeah, so it is there. This just helps then with whatever I paint over the top. It will come through a little bit and you will be able to see sort of metal edges here and there. Even though at the very end I think I go over and do more dry brushing with metal. Sometimes it is a case of like building things up. So even though you don't see the colours fully, it is worth having them there because they do make that little extra to the finished look. So with the colour of this, because I knew I was kind of going to go for this thing being a complete rust bucket, I didn't want to use any sort of browns or greens to paint this. So I've gone with like a grey blue. It's quite a light colour, but yeah, it does the trick, and I say it just sort of changes it from, well, the grayscale look it currently is into a more, well, hopefully a more natural looking sort of colour for a vehicle that you'd see out on the field in the war. So while that's drying, I can slap some paint on the base. And as I say, in my mind, I was thinking this sort of vehicle is going to take place, or the attack is going to take place on some sort of distant planet like Mars or something. And yeah, that's why I wanted to go for like a reddish brown base. But as you can see, originally I was going to go with this bony matter colour. It really sort of sank too much into the paint, and yeah, you couldn't really see it much at all. So I do later on go over with a more, well, more orangey colour. Yeah, just because this bony matter seems a little bit flat and dull for my liking. But again, that's the fun of painting. You try different things out. If they work, great. If they don't, well, you sort of recover from it, or start again, or go with it. But yeah, because obviously that's the reason why I love using these speed paints as well, because they're quite thin. You can do several layers without it sort of messing up the detail, which is pretty cool. Good old Dirty Down Rust. I've used this quite a few times now, and well, I love it. It's the best thing since sliced bread. If you want to make rust on any kind of vehicle or terrain, yeah, I would highly recommend using Dirty Down Rust. There's a link in the description, guys, to their website. Go and check them out. They haven't paid me or done anything to make me sort of say anything. I just really love this product. And yeah, since I've had it, it's one of those things when you have such a good paint, it kind of makes you want to do more rust things. So as much as this may well have not been a rusty vehicle, because I've got this stuff, yeah, it has to be a rusty vehicle because I just love it. And like most things in this hobby, we all have our own different sort of preferences. Some people might just want a little bit of rust here or there. Some people, like me, might want to go overboard with it. So much so, as you can see, I'm now using two different sort of Dirty Down Rusts. One's a brownish colour, which is the first one I put on, and now the second one is more of a yellowish colour. Just, again, to give it the rust look, possibly, hopefully, a bit more natural of a look, because there are different shades of the brown to the yellow. And also, when you do one colour, obviously, over the other colour, again, that can give you a variation in the sort of shades and darkness of the colours. But yeah, so for me, my personal preference, when I'm doing something rusty, I'm making sure this thing's a rust bucket. A big gust of wind, and this thing's just going to disintegrate. So yeah, again, I go a bit over the top. You obviously be a bit more selective in your rust. But yeah, we're all different, and we all have different ideas of how we like things to look, which is pretty awesome. So about 10 minutes later, and yeah, the paint's dried and it looks awesome. I say this stuff, it looks textured, which I really think's amazing, and it does look like if you touched it, you would be able to feel the rust texture, and yeah, you'd certainly need a tetanus jab after that. So this is what I was saying about obviously doing the old silver dry brushing again, because well, as you can clearly see, the rust that I did has completely obliterated any colour, anything I did underneath. So if anything, I probably could have just painted this or primed this in black and then just done rust straight over the top. But hey, where's the fun in that? Plus, I didn't know just how much would still come through. But clearly none's come through. But that's fine. As I say, I enjoy the whole process of painting. Whether what I paint you actually see at the end doesn't really make any odds. As much as it is a case of it's nice to see the finished product, yeah, for me this hobby is definitely about the journey and how we get there, which is why I do love trying new things out. Which is why, guys, I always sort of say, if there's anything you want to see me do, try, make, build, paint or whatever, yeah, please let me know. As well, I like trying new things because that's one way of getting better, and it makes this hobby, well, more fun because you don't get into a rut or stale by doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I do like trying new things. So using a bit of paint here, I'm going to do some stippling effect, just because as much as I want this to be a rust bucket, I did kind of want there to be, well, some like original paint on it, but clearly obviously I got rid of all that with the rust. So yeah, doing the stippling, which is something I've only been doing for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So yeah, so rather than obviously painting, well, it's like it says, I'm stippling. I know, guys, because loads of you saying, oh yeah, why don't you get a little sponge, rip it up and use that? And it's like, well, yeah, I could do, and I have done. But in this case, again, it is doing what you enjoy, and for some reason, stippling I find very, very relaxing. I think it's because you don't have to think too much about what you're doing. It's one of those like repetitive things, and yeah, once you get in the groove, you just stipple some more. So yes, I did enjoy this. Although yeah, I will heartily agree, using the sort of broken up sponge, dabbing that, rubbing off a lot of the paint off the sponge, and then dabbing with that will give you a very good effect as well. Although I think at the time of doing this, I possibly didn't have any sort of spare sponges, so that's obviously another factor that comes into what I use when I'm making my videos. It is a case of using what is around me. As yeah, this hobby can get quite expensive sometimes, and I do appreciate I do get sent quite a lot of the materials that I use, which is just awesome. But there are obviously a lot of stuff that I still buy, and yeah, everything mounts up. So yeah, back to the base. As I say, I wanted it to be like an orangey base, and that bony matter, even though it looked a little bit sort of orange-ish, well, maybe a little bit, yeah, it kind of wasn't enough for me, so I've gone full out, and I'm using orange now, just because, say, in my mind, this base is going to look like Mars. Yeah, so I'm oranging it up. Plus, orange is one of my favourite, well, it is my favourite colour, so whenever I can get orange involved in any miniature, it kind of makes me happy, because it's, well, it's a happy colour to me. So now onto something that I don't really use much of, but I think I kind of really should, because it does help with a lot of stuff, and that's the old decals. Yeah, I mean, I get these with most miniatures, but I very rarely use them, and yet they are, well, it's a simple little thing to do, but it does make a big difference to whatever it is you're putting them on. Yeah, I can't really say much more than that. It does make things look better. So yeah, obviously with this being the vehicle, there's quite a few things I'm going to put on here, just here and there. Again, just to make it look a bit more realistic, and well, it's a simple thing that can improve whatever it is they're going on. And so especially now that I've got quite a lot of decals, say, because obviously I am now buying a lot more miniatures than, well, I have ever done. I mean, I probably bought more miniatures in this past month than I have in the previous sort of 2 years of having this channel, just because, well, I say I'm going nuts for painting. I just love painting, I love kit bashing, I love assembling, and yeah, you may have noticed that this month I am trying to do a new video every 2 days. A couple of reasons for that, really. One, well, obviously, yeah, sometimes I said obviously this video, guys. I know a lot of you have a bit of a joke with me saying the word obviously. So yeah, you need to work out how many times I've said it. There's no prize. It'll just be fun knowing how many times I've said it. So yeah, I kind of forgot what I was going with this, but yeah, painting miniatures, I really do love it now. Yes, that's why a video every 2 days this month. Blimey, I'm even waffling over my waffle now. Because I want to grow the channel, and I really want to hit that 100,000 subscribers, guys. I know I'm still quite a long way off, but obviously little by little we will sort of get there, and with your help. So if you guys can sort of share, like, subscribe, and yeah, all that good stuff, comments, it does help the channel out so much. So all the stickers are on. Obviously they've all dried nicely, so I'm now using a little bit of this wash over the top, just to, well, dirty them up, and I'm also going to go over everything else, because some of the blue that I've gone on, it looks a little bit too, well, too clean, too neat. Again, I probably go a bit over the top using the wash, but the thing is though, I go over the top, but I've done it in a way that I really like it. So as much as I keep saying I go over the top on things, if I'm doing it how I like it, then it's not going over the top, it's just perfect. And then with the orange base, I just wanted to catch a few of the edges, the highlights, the raised bits, just to give it a bit of a different colour. So that's why I'm using this sort of light, sort of browny orange. And again, using my textured dry brush palette. It's one of those things I never knew about until you guys mentioned that I should make one in a video, well, about a week ago. And since making it, I use it all the time. It's just great. And I've recently just printed, or 3D printed one, which you'll see in a video very soon. Last thing I was going to do, these decals, again, they look too sort of neat and precise. Especially, obviously, if this is a rust bucket, you'd expect the decals to, well, start sort of fraying, and bits coming off. So it's all fully dried. I've got my little scalpel and I am now just sort of like scratching into it, which is pulling bits away and making, well, little tears and bits. And again, it just adds a little bit of authenticity and makes it look, well, makes it look pretty cool. And yeah, really pleased with how this is coming out. And I think now we should see it in all its glory. And there we go, one rust bucket of a sentinel, which yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's come out and just love everything about it. So guys, if you want to buy this, everything I'm sort of making now that I don't actually use or play with, I am selling on eBay. This is just another way I'm helping sort of fund this channel. So yeah, eBay link down below, guys. Go give that a click and see what there is to, well, buy that I painted, if you really wanted to. Don't forget to leave comments down below. Let me know what you want to see me do in the future. And say whether it's a different sort of painting technique, something with the airbrush, or just a different sort of miniature. Yeah, let me know, guys. There's another video on the screen. It'd be great if you could give that a click. See more of what I do. And if you can share the video, that would be awesome. And yeah, guys, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. You guys take care. Bye for now.